Hello there ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul TX141 Walsh, welcoming you to some all new World of Warships gameplay today on the channel. In this instalment, we're going to be taking a bit of a breather in terms of being analytical, and instead we're just going to be taking a gentle look at one of those games. Now what do I mean by that? Do you ever have those games in World of Warships where things seem to work out in a really odd fashion, some illogical gameplay happens, it doesn't quite make sense, but you stick with it, you enjoy it for what it is, and you just have a laugh in World of Warships? This is one of those games. It's a Tier IX Domination game on the map Hotspot, and we're sailing out in the Tier 7 Premium American Light Cruiser, the Atlanta, one of my favourite ships in game for our anti-aircraft capabilities, and we're joined by our two good friends, Lamari or Ben, sailing out in the Akatsuki, the Tier 8 Japanese gunboat destroyer, and Z, who's sailing in the Tier 8 Premium German aircraft carrier, the Graf Zeppelin. And we spawned in north of Objective Alpha and we're gradually making our way there. Now there's going to be a number of things which you'll need to observe early on in this game, and they're going to factor into the later portions of the game. This is quite a quick one, however. Now note that Z is sending his rocket fighters towards Objective Alpha, and he's going to scout out south of that objective and gradually cut across towards Objective Charlie, the objective native to the enemy team at the start of this type of match, and he's going to be spotting as many enemy ships as possible to give us intelligence on what is coming this way. And you can see already he's spotted the enemy Iowa, the enemy Nagato, he's spotted the enemy Vanguard, we can also see an Amalfi, and most importantly, he's going to be spotting the enemy Erland, or the Pan-European destroyer, which seems to be sat in spawn, and one of our teammates is going to pick up on that and type in the chat that that destroyer is AFK. And in the meantime, we can see on the minimap as well that the enemy carrier seems to have sent their rocket fighters over Objective Delta and done quite a bit of spotting as well. But keep an eye on that on the minimap in terms of the enemy aircraft carriers' planes and how much we see of them. No spoilers. And as we continue to make our way down towards Objective Alpha, there we get in the chat that the enemy destroyer is AFK, according to the opinion of one of our teammates, and it really does look as though our team is sending the main force towards Objective Delta, and we're getting a decent force towards Objective Alpha. We're backed up by an Azuma and a Jean Bart, but we're going to have the weaker force here, and two battleships, a light cruiser and a destroyer, to take on at least three battleships, one heavy cruiser seen so far, plus whatever else is down here. Now we're getting closer and closer to the objective. Ben's already contesting it. We see a smoke screen going up in the middle of the map from the enemy Amalfi. They're probably using that to hide themselves and pull out of a difficult situation. Understandable, that's the nature of the smoke screen equipped to that ship. And we're going to gradually saunter our way a little bit westwards of Objective Alpha just to take a peek around the landmass off to what would be our port side and see if we can spot anything round the corner. Now one of the things that's absolutely lovely about the Atlanta is her sheer mass of 5-inch guns. And at close range you don't have to worry about aiming too much in terms of the fact that those rather high shell arcs, well, they're not too much of a factor when you're shooting at a target out to 7 kilometers. And here we're just waiting to see whether Ben gets blocked in taking Objective Alpha, and it doesn't look as though the one enemy destroyer that's unaccounted for, the enemy schooner, has actually decided to go for Objective Alpha. And there it is instead, right in front of us, caught out in the open, right in front of our amassed guns, and we're just going to chunk off a nice 6,120 HP in the first salvo, and that health pool of 15,400, well, it's not going to last very long even when that ship has a heal, and we do have a radar kit which takes us all the way out to 8.5 kilometers surveillance, so we're going to make sure that that enemy destroyers are not getting away this time. So that's a first blood medal already picked up, and one destroyer completely eliminated from the game. Now with that having happened, we now have confirmation of the enemy Shiratsuyu being in Objective Delta, but look at the minimap regarding that other Pan-European destroyer from earlier that's quote-unquote AFK. Now you're probably wondering at this point, okay, so it's made its way into the centre of the map, but it's going to be on the eastern side of Objective Alpha. Why is that important? Well, in this position right now, I know I can only be spotted from one of two directions, either across the eastern avenue into Objective Alpha, or alternatively down the western side of the map in a similar fashion to how we caught the enemy schooner off guard. And I'm being spotted right now with my detectability being just below 11 kilometers. That can only mean one thing in terms of where I'm being spotted from. And for those of you who guessed it, that's right, the enemy Erland has just made its way into Objective Alpha and is sitting on the eastern side, or so I thought at the time, but as Z sends his planes over his torpedo bombers to take a quick look, what you're going to see is that Erland's not just heading into Alpha to take it, oh no, they're going full velocity straight across Alpha towards our fleet. Now, it's most likely that this player's either just deciding to get into the game, get into the thick of it, and completely throw the ship away. They could be a bot. We're not going to judge either way. But this really caught us all by surprise by the fact that of all the things we expected to happen, with quite a powerful destroyer from what we understood, that it would decide just to charge its merry way across Objective Alpha and say goodbye to its life in the form of my 5-inch guns and the collective firepower of the team, eliminating it out. And yet now we've got an even more difficult situation in the fact we've got our Azuma off to our starboard side, and we've got quite a nice queue. We're all British here, folks. We've got quite a nice queue of ships forming in a nice line on the other side of the landmass in front of us, in the form of the enemy Iowa, the Nagato, the Algerie, the Vanguard, and they all seem to be waiting to go around the corner, but nobody wants to quite go around the corner. Yet the enemy Amalfi has taken a different approach of deciding to try and contest Objective Alpha. It's up from the southwestern avenue, and it's not quite worked out for them. They've lost a lot of health, and now they're in a position whereby they're being continuously spotted, and Ben, with the power of the Akizuki's guns, can just gradually whittle down the health of the Amalfi and take it out of the game, despite the Amalfi having the rather devastating SAP rounds, which can do a lot of damage to a destroyer. Ben's making the most of the situation and wearing the heavy cruiser down, and I'm trying to help out here in securing the kill. I'm not trying to kill steal it at all, as the Jean Bart picks off the Amalfi for another enemy ship eliminated out of the game. All the while, everyone's being very polite on this corner of the map, queuing up on both sides of the island to see who wants to push around the corner and contest. It is a bit of a difficult situation for both sides. We can't afford to be the aggressors because we haven't got the numbers, and obviously on the enemy team it would seem as though nobody wants to be the guy or girl to go first. So this is a really comfy situation. At this point, we couldn't stop laughing amongst us in terms of our division, because what we thought to ourselves was, at some point someone's got to have the courage to go around. And what you're going to see here is I'm switching to the torpedo lead indicator, not to send torpedoes to the Iowa, because my torpedoes have only got 4.5 kilometers range, but to see what it's doing. And when I saw on the torpedo lead indicator, which wasn't quite represented in the replay here, that the Iowa was actually reversing and nobody seemingly wanted to go around the corner, Ben pretty much asked the question, do you want me to just go take Charlie, because they're not bothering with it? And we said, well, what about the enemy aircraft carrier? And Ben points out quite adequately at this point, as we're talking over TeamSpeak, the enemy aircraft carrier is not doing anything. Now, some of you may have been looking at the minimap throughout this time and realised we haven't seen an enemy fighter squadron actually appear in the sky, or any type of aircraft squadron appear in the sky since that opening rocket plane squadron at the start. And as it transpires, we reckon that the enemy carrier player disconnected soon after they sent the first squad up. So as a result, what that means is the enemy team have got no carrier, they've got no map control in the centre, and they've got no ability right now to contest Objective Alpha, and they're gradually getting crippled for Objective Delta by the looks of things. So our team is building up a massive stack of ships to push through Objective Delta, and they're forming a lovely queue, the enemy team, on the southwestern side of Objective Alpha still. They're just holding their positions nicely, perhaps maintaining distance from our team just in case things get a little bit violent. Our Azuma may pop some shells in there, and our Jean Bart's getting ready to engage. The Vanguard's getting a little bit close to that front line, getting ready to go around the corner, but nobody really wants to put any pressure on. And I'm making my way now into the middle of Objective Alpha, because what I'm thinking is, look, there's no way I'm going to survive if the enemy team finally decide they want to push the corner. So let's do something a bit different and go for Objective Alpha. Let's be a bit bold, because the enemy carrier doesn't seem to want to do anything, despite my protestations at the fact that I'd love to shoot down some planes, or at least use some defensive aid for a bit, but it looks as though I can't have that today when I play an anti-aircraft cruiser. Me whining a little bit, I'll be honest with you. Instead, I've got to go through the middle of the map, and, well, let's take a look at the enemy Nagato, and let's open up with some decent high explosive and start chunking it down very gradually. And being here at this point, this was one of the parts where I started to think to myself, how much of this can I get away with in a ship that is very fragile if it gets spotted and shot at with high caliber armour piercing? It's only going to take a couple of armour piercing shells to citadel the ship and wipe it out. What if its maximum health pool without survivability expert of 27,500? And here we're having a right laugh. I keep looking over at the enemy Algerie just in case it's getting to the point where it can spot me through direct line of sight between my ship and theirs, which is currently being obscured by the landmass that's cutting us off on the western side of Objective Alpha. That's why I keep flicking over. And now looking at the minimap, what you're going to note with regards to that little train of enemy ships is they're finally starting to push around, with the Iowa taking the lead and spearheading it. And now I'm looking at the Algerian and starting to pepper it with high explosive and whittle its health down. But what I'm going to start doing now is flicking my eyesight over towards the enemy Iowa, because what I'm thinking is, oh, I could be really cheeky and greedy here and really annoy the Iowa with a load of 5-inch shells. Because again, keeping in mind, right now when we're shooting at this Algerie, we've got very high shell arcs, whereby the shells are coming down on the ship, so armour piercing is not going to be too effective. Whereas with this Iowa being under 7 kilometres away, if we switch to armour piercing here, and even out to say 7.5 kilometres, the armour piercing is actually going to plunge in at a really sweet angle into the superstructure and upper broadside armour of the Iowa, and we can absolutely chunk the life out of the side of that ship. As you can see, we're just ripping 1,000 after 1,000 after 1,000 out of the Iowa, and that health pool is coming down very quickly, and our damage counter in the top right corner is going up very quickly. I'm switching on the surveillance radar here, and we can see on the minimap all the meanwhile, Ben's just having a wonderful time in the Akizuki, I should say, and he's just gradually sauntering his way across Objective Charlie, not a care in the world, and realising that the carrier's definitely disconnected or left the game, so he can just pick up that kill for free, but don't worry about that, as we've now got the enemy Algerie coming charging around the corner here, and I'm starting to panic a little bit. None of the armour piercing shells I fired in my first salvo actually managed to make their mark and get through the armour. That was bad play by me. So I switched up my explosive, but watch what happens here when I get hit in return with some armour piercing from the Algerie's 8-inch guns. Are you ready? Off we and go. That was 4 citadels from the lead guns, and then unfortunately for the Algerie, they overled the final salvo, or the final pass of their salvo, with the rear turret, meaning that those 2 armour piercing shells over-penetrated the forward section of my Atlanta's broadside, which meant they didn't pick up the kill from a single salvo. That would have been a devastating strike by them, I reckon. And still, now we can see that Ben's picked up his devastating strike on the enemy carrier, so he's taken Objective Charlie. Our team's won over towards Objective Delta, and this game is pretty much at the end as we chunk a little bit more life out of the Iowa with some long distance armour piercing, but the effectiveness is starting to wear off a little bit, and that's the game. With the battle over, we can see that our battle performance amounted to a total damage output of 98,110 HP, and we also picked up the achievement of First Blood. Moving on to the team scores, we can see that we topped our team in terms of base experience earned with 2,452, in second was Ben with 1,828, and Z finished just under halfway down our team order with 1,017. Now it's at this point that I would like to apologise for the lack of continuity in this video compared to other videos where I've been squadded with Ben and or Z. In that, normally in those videos, Ben and or Z will detonate at some point or just explode and go down in a ball of flames, and that didn't happen here, and I appreciate that many of you will be disappointed. Don't worry, service will be as usual as of the next World of Warships video. Moving on to the detailed report, nothing major to note, although it is nice to see that we got a roughly even distribution given the number of shells that impacted on targets successfully between high explosive and armour piercing, just going to show that even with the 5-inch guns of the Atlanta, knowing when to use the right shell can always be important in any given ship. And finally, coming on to credits and experience earned, we can see that after additions and deductions, we walked away with 568,124 silver credits and 12,584 commander experience. And that just about wraps up today's gameplay. It's been a bit of a different video, I'll appreciate that, but feel free to let me know in the comments section whether you enjoyed this type of video, a bit more of a laid back one, where I'm not worrying too much about the analysis, more just about observations and having a good laugh. If you did like it, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe for future World of Warships content on the channel. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I have been TX141, and until next time, take care and fair seas.